Cadet Cooper, why is it always you? Will the heavens ever have mercy on me? I'm going to have to promote you just to save my sanity. Now sit it and zip it, mister. Now, for the rest of you, please take your seats. The topic for today is, how do I code if I suck as a coder? This is part 6 of the Launch Your Startup Now bootcamp. Learn how to start your own web app or app startup in an exciting 23rd century science fiction universe. This course is also known as Startup School for Coders, Ensign Edition. It is now $22.91. I am Daniel W. Howard, Commandant of Startup School for Coders and the Interplanetary Fleet Star Academy, and I will be your instructor this term. As you can see in the lower right, I am transmitting from the Starship Nautilus, which is not a physical starship, but a holographically simulated training starship running in HoloSim 13 on the Star Academy campus in San Francisco. You will address me as Commandant. I will address you as Cadet. You all have your handbooks by now, so I'm not going to bother wasting time with this slide. Interplanetary fleet starships use exodrives for faster than light travel between solar systems. The EXO stands for exotic. Exodrives use transdimensional Alcubierre exotic matter particles to generate a Casimir vacuum projection around the starship. Find out more at this Wikipedia article. Finally, this course gets to coding. It's called Startup School for Coders, after all, but it does not mention coding until almost the last class. Coding is important, but it's not the only thing in creating your own tech startup. By design, this class assumes that you know how to code, at least at a hobbyist level, but does not expect you to be an expert coder. To start with, I'll give you an overview of the various approaches to coding. These include no-code products, low-code products, Firebase, xibbit, which is my open source full stack starter kit, and a brief survey of everything else. Your bias. The universe of coding experiences is vast. Most coders have a strong bias. This class will not try to talk you out of that. If you want to use Python or Node.js or Java Spring or Golang or .NET or Elixir because you have experience with it, then go for it. But first, this class will do a survey of the popular and most passionately argued, both for and against, coding approaches, just so you know what they are. No code. Bubble is a popular back-end oriented no-code platform. Its front end is not very flexible, but its back end is good for MVPs with lots of functionality and data. For example, social media and marketplaces. Webflow is a popular front-end oriented no-code platform. Its front end is good for marketing or user-oriented websites. It's CSS friendly and has good SEO, which for Cooper is search engine optimization. Its back end, however, has limited functionality. Low code. It seems better for internal enterprise websites and apps than for startups. But I will tell you a little bit about low code. Zoho Creator uses its own Deluge programming language. I didn't actually use this or dive into it, so it is to be determined what the benefits and disadvantages are of this platform. There is another competing platform called Appian, which uses its own Sail programming language. I also didn't go into that. You will notice that these are called low code, but they use their own programming languages that they invented and not standard programming languages. Firebase is a backend as a service. Backend as a service is an innovative approach where you write your front end and back end code in the same set of source. In a sense, it is all front end code. Deployment separates and generates the backend code automatically. Firebase also includes Firestore, which is an innovative NoSQL database that automatically synchronizes data changes to the front end. It isn't entirely clear how beneficial or necessary this feature actually is, but it is an interesting and innovative feature. Xibbit is an open source full stack starter kit. I invented it, and it is a work in progress. It supports 5 front ends, including React and Flutter, 4 back ends, including Node.js and Golang, interchangeable front ends and back ends. This means that they have a common communication interface so that you can mix and match front ends with back ends. It has sign up, sign in profile, and sign out pages built in so that you don't have to build this up from the toolbox that is provided by most other packages. It actually comes right out of the box. It also has the xibbdb cross-language library, which uses the same APIs in all the different backends, which supports MySQL. And finally, it is free. However, it does not have any hosting options, so you will need to buy hosting separately. There's a hodgepodge of other development methods which you might consider if you are already familiar with them or have a bias towards them. For example, Ruby on Rails was especially popular about 10 or 15 years ago. There's the Rust programming language, which always seems to be popular among programmers, although not necessarily among entrepreneurs. The Laravel, which is a PHP framework. Heroku, which is actually a hosting service that allows you to host things, various different backends. Zapier, which is sort of a no-code integration platform. There's outsourcing, so hiring other people to write code for you. And then an innovative and interesting approach that I am always interested in is monthly flat fee development firms. Most of the previous coding approaches support both web apps, which are essentially websites, and mobile apps. If you are doing a mobile app, you may also need to mix in Apple Xcode and Swift, or Android Studio and Java or Kotlin, or Flutter or React Native. Some coding approaches generate apps, while others just generate a backend which is ready for a separate app to communicate with it. So you would need to use these technologies listed above in order to actually create the app if you're using these particular solutions. The current state. Almost all coding approaches require full lifetime of the startup, at least, commitment. And if you choose wrong, you are stuck. I'm trying to build Xibbit into something that is both normal full stack and you can use for now, but if you need to switch to a different front end or back end, you can switch with moderate effort. Not no effort, moderate effort. Admittedly, Xibbit is not ready for prime time. I'll re-record this class when that changes. How to choose. For now, if you already have a bias, I guess follow that bias. You already know what you want to do, and I don't want to talk you out of that. If you don't have a bias, follow the links in the previous slides and experiment with the different approaches. If you have co-founders, consult them. Spend 2 weeks maximum experimenting and then make a choice and stick with it for better or for worse. For the first month or more, initially, as a coder, you want to just develop your code on your own development computer, safe on your home network, and not make it available over the internet to users yet. In the first month or more, you will be in stealth mode, or really in development mode where you are just trying to get some basic features working on your own development computer. When you are ready and it works somewhat, you will make it available to users on the internet. There are additional technical topics that aren't code, but are crucial to know to create a tech product when you make it available on the public internet. You might already know these, but lots of coders don't really. They are domain names, hosting, and SSL certificates. If you have any kind of backend, you will need a domain name, so your front end, whether it is a web app or app, can function. A domain name is your own unique .com address, such as mystartup.com. You register and rent your domain name from a domain registrar like Namecheap or Google Domains. Hosting. Hosting a computer, either physical or virtual, that you run your back end on. Your .com domain points to your hosting. In no code, low code, or Firebase, your hosting is bundled into the environment, which is part of your monthly fee to use those services. With xibbit and other backends, you rent a computer to put your backend on, such as Amazon AWS, in particular the EC2 product, or DigitalOcean, which is quite affordable with its base product at $6 a month. The third part of a backend is SSL certificates. Technically, a backend server can run unsecured with all the communication between users and clients totally unprotected. But you really want security so that your backend both looks normal to the user and encrypts communication using an SSL certificate. You will purchase an SSL certificate from your domain registrar usually and install it using their instructions. This sixth video is, of course, not comprehensive. It is meant to instruct you on how to choose what to code with and get you started to produce a basic web app or app that you can show publicly. The seventh and last video will discuss funding, bootstrap funding in detail, and investor funding in broader terms. But more importantly, you will complete this boot camp and be promoted to ensign rank. A special note: if you work at an incubator, a venture capitalist, Y Combinator, consult to startup founders, run an entrepreneur podcast, or even run your own startup school, or in any other way deal with people who are starting their own startup, I want to hear from you so that I can work with you. Contact me through LinkedIn. You will get your handbook. You already have your handbook, so we'll not bother and not waste time with this slide. Before the next class, consider what technologies you want to investigate and use in your startup. Now, class, I have an announcement. I have been in contact with Captain John Iroquois, and he expresses his eagerness to see you promoted and to come aboard the Starship Myrmidon to serve your first tour of duty in the rank of ensign. Attention! Class dismissed. Adjutant, I really don't know what is going on with the Trionatron issue. I haven't been able to hear anything, but it seems very serious, and they are keeping a tight lip on it.